Well, good afternoon. I guess most people it's probably afternoon, but if not, good morning. My name is Aaron Estes. I am an adjunct professor at SMU in Dallas, where I got my doctorate degree from there in software engineering. I'm also the CEO and co-founder of Ironwood Cyber, a company that I started about 2.5 years ago. Before that, I spent almost 20 years doing cybersecurity work and software engineering for Lockheed Martin, working on F-16, F-22, F-35, and then moved over to several other business areas, including space. And so I worked on GPS and OPIR and some other space platforms as well. So really been kind of around the horn when it comes to defense with Lockheed, pen tested and broken into probably any and all of those systems and more throughout my career, and wanted to kind of start up a company to solve some of the problems that we'd encountered over the years, and that's kind of how Ironwood got started. We met some investors who were willing to jump in with us, and so just to kind of look at the slide, this is who we are. So I started the company with my friend Ethan Pucciati, who was also a Lockheed Martin fellow along with me. And one of the smartest cybersecurity guys that I knew. So brought him on, and then one of my best friends, Jeff Stratton, was also he was in leadership at Lockheed Martin in cybersecurity for a long time, and so brought him on to help us with some business development and strategy and things like that. We were able to then pull in a lot of the smartest people that I've known throughout my career, throughout my 20-year career. Some really amazing talent that we have, which is probably our number one asset. And so we really started the company to be disruptors in a way. So one of our products that I won't get to today, but one of our products is more of a disruptive product in the threat detection community, where we're using side channel analysis on hardware sensors to detect threats. We've done some really great research there and developed a product out of that called Firethorn that I'll probably talk about on a different meeting. But and then the kind of the thing that we're concentrating on today is we're experts in cybersecurity intelligence and automation, where we've really been able to build a platform for developing kind of the first on-demand SaaS-based penetration testing and cybersecurity assessment platform called Enlight, and that's kind of what I'm here to talk about today. So everybody in the cybersecurity industry probably realizes that resource limitations are a huge problem. The skills gap and the labor gap within cybersecurity is doesn't allow us to do the level of work, the amount of work as often as we would like, and a major area of that is cybersecurity assessment, right? So growing up in this industry, we saw time and time again, I was part of many different red teams and penetration testing teams, and that skill set is very labor intensive. It takes time. When a company wants to do a penetration test, they want to have guys come in and assess their system. They either have to call one of the big one of the big contractors, a Price Waterhouse or a Deloitte, or one of those, or they're calling a boutique shop who's limited on people and resources, and it's very expensive. It takes quite a bit of time. You have to get on their schedule. There's a lot of improvement, a lot of room for improvement, kind of in the way that cybersecurity assessment is done. The industry is headed towards more automation. Obviously, everyone is, with the onset of AI and machine learning and just increased automation. But we really hadn't seen anyone doing it, all that well to date, especially in the penetration testing kind of arena. It's a highly specialized skill set. Most people still think of it as kind of an art form or a bit of magic. But after you've kind of been in the industry for 20 years and been doing this for that long, you kind of see the things that you're finding over and over, and realizing that most assessments are really looking for the same things. We're inspecting the same things. We're using the same techniques over and over. And so What we set out to do was to determine, could we build a system that could think like a hacker, and pull off a full end-to-end cybersecurity assessment, in an automated, pretty much hands-off way. And that's where we came up with Enlight. This is actually the second generation of the product. We originally had a product called or Ironwood Cyber RX. That was more of a scripted pen test. We kind of scripted everything together, and did all the right tools and all the right pieces, but it really didn't have a whole lot of intelligence built in. So as we were building that, we were also doing some research in automation and machine learning. And we put that skill set and that capability together with what we had built with our first product, and developed a much more intelligent cyber assessment tool with Enlight. Um, Again, we wanted it to be accessible to pretty much anyone. That's another problem with cybersecurity. Often it's not accessible. If you're a small, mid-sized company, you may not even know who to call to get a cyber assessment done. Um, and then, if you do figure out who to call, often it's, a limitation on how much it's going to cost, or can you even get on their schedule? Because they may not want to do a test for a company that's only got 25 to 50 assets, right? They've got bigger fish to fry, and they've only got so many people to be able to do that kind of work. So we set out to see, could we build something that was on demand, that was self sign up, kind of turnkey, and that's what we've accomplished with Enlight. We're very, very proud of what we built. We actually surprised ourselves in many ways, because as a longtime penetration tester, I was in that family that says, hey, this is an art form. This takes years and years to learn, and you have to be creative. You have to be good at puzzle solving, and all of those things are true. But for most of the heavy lifting stuff, we've found that, being able to automate it, being able to use the modern techniques with AI and automation and machine learning, that most of what we do can be done. Now, does it take the place of a deep dive penetration test where you've got experts looking at systems that they've never seen before and things like that? Perhaps not, but most of the time that's not what we need. Uh, and with the onset of ideas like DevSecOps and continuous integration and continuous employment, um, there's also this idea that we also need to be testing cybersecurity continuously as well. So you see continuous red teaming mentioned on the page here. Um, and that's where the industry is headed. I like to tell people that doing a penetration test um, once or twice a year, or maybe even once every 2 years, whatever's the regulatory compliance tells you have to do, is typically what we find that companies do. They're not very good at a proactive stance on this type of testing, often because it is logistically challenging. It's you have to work with consultants, you have to get them access to your system, you have to get on their schedule. All of those things kind of become roadblocks in being able to do this more often. And so companies often, will find that they hadn't done a pen test in 2 years, 18 months, things like that is very, very common. But with what we've built, it's on demand, and you can run it pretty much as often as you would like. I tell people that, doing a pen test once a year is like checking your doors and windows to see if they're closed and locked once a year. And you say, well, last time I checked 6 months ago, everything was good. Everything was locked up. The doors were all closed. However, people have gone in and out. People have opened things up. Things change on a daily basis when it comes to IT networks and even OT networks and things like that. And so being able to check your doors and locks more often is obviously a valuable thing in this industry. I actually was just talking to one of my former colleagues, and they got hit with this pretty badly, in that they do a pretty good job of cybersecurity, but they hadn't tested in years just because they didn't have the resources. And they finally got a test done, and it was miserable. And that a lot of things that they just hadn't checked and they hadn't thought to check in a while were completely wide open. Um, and that's why
Aaron,
it's important to do, continuous. Yes.
this is Eugene. So, I mean, typically for a pen test, I mean, how long is it valid? Is it valid for a day, a week? I mean, does it
It really
depend
depends
on
on
a,
the rate of change of the environment, obviously. I would say in general, probably, I mean, it could be good for 30 days. It could be good for 3 months. We find a lot of folks that are being more proactive and are trying to do this more often. I've never seen anyone doing it more than quarterly. And one reason for that is you do a test, you got to go fix stuff, and you got to retest to make sure that it's fixed. You got to give yourself time to do all of that. Um, and so those timelines, like I said, it maybe quarterly is some of the best that I've seen. Um, with what we're doing, you could, depending on the size of the network, you could literally do testing daily if you wanted, and be able to check, to make sure that somebody didn't turn something on or open up a new port or launch a new app or connect a new system that was not hardened, things like that. Because those things could happen any day. It could happen the day after your pen test, and leave you pretty much, wide open. Um, so yeah, it,
so it
it
has a
just
lot to
depends
do
on.
with the strength of your security plan and whether you're switching out hardware, software, that kind of thing. Like
Exactly.
if you did a massive Windows update or something like that, would that be a good time to run it after that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we were just talking to one of our big customers, and they would like to run it as often as they make changes. So as often as they do CI/CD kind of deployment, um, and being able to put this into a deployment pipeline and things like that would be highly valuable to them. And that's we're working on one of our big government customers on doing that now, so that every time they make a significant change, they can run an assessment, and determine that things are still buttoned up.
Nope.
And we can
What
do
about
that with this system. It's scriptable. It's easy to launch. There's kind of a difference between the way it works commercially and the way that it works for an enterprise or even a defense kind of a more government or defense type of deployment. We have several different ways that we can run it. Some that are kind of on-prem, some that are cloud native deployments. It really depends on the environment and kind of the criticality or security requirements of that environment.
okay? Thank you. Yeah, I got more questions, but I'll let you see if you answer them.
Yeah,
Later.
absolutely. So often we get asked, how is this different from anything that's out there? How's it different from a Metasploit, or how's it different from a Nessus scan, or things like that? We consider those things pretty much to be tools that could be in our tool bag. Actually, Nessus is in our tool bag, so we do use some Nessus scanning and some Nessus modules. However, that's just one tool out of, if you're talking red teaming, you're talking penetration testing, that practitioner is going to use a plethora of tools, whatever's necessary, some open source, some commercial, maybe. Um, and what we've done is kind of made our system agnostic of the tool set. We can add and change out tools really as often as we would like. The way we've built this system, every action within a pen test is we break it down into its atomic level. So what is the smallest action that we can, that what is the smallest step that we can take to get to the next phase or the next piece of data that we need? We break those up into we call them reactions, atomic reactions. And those reactions each generate data. And then our Catalyst Decision Engine that you see mentioned in this slide takes that data, analyzes the data, and determines, along with the data and then some other parameters and situational characteristics, what needs to be done. The same way that we would think about, okay, when would I run this tool or when would I run this exploit? Well, if these conditions are met and I find this data, then or if the data tells me that this is open or this port is open or this application is running or whatever, and then I look at the conditions, once those are met, then I would try certain exploits, or I would try the next step. I would try the next technique, if you will. And so we've broken those down into what we call atomic reactions, and the Catalyst Decision Engine intelligently selects from those actions and builds a unique pen test every time it runs. So this isn't a scan or a scripted scan. That's what our old product was really more of that scripted scan. You always run these things. You there might be some if then else's where you're like, okay, if I see this, then I'll try these things, and then but it wasn't really an intelligent decision. They weren't looking at conditions met and looking at kind of a data-driven approach, which is what we do now with Enlight. Um, that's
So
kind of
let me stop you there for a second.
yeah.
So what is the benefit of that? What is the benefit of not running everything every time?
Um, Optimization of the scan itself, or we'll call it a scan. I hate to call it that because it's not really a scan. It's much more of an intelligent kind of assessment, but if I call it a scan, you know what I mean. But if for optimizing the time that it takes to run things, you don't want to run everything all the time because it's not necessary, right? And it just takes up more time. Um, so for optimization reasons, also for discovering, so as we discover new things, as we discover kind of new nodes in the network, we can pivot and pick up actually a whole new set of actions based on what we're seeing. So let's, for instance, take an OT environment, right? So if I discover some specific OT types of devices on the network, then there's a whole different set of things that I'm going to choose, and I don't necessarily need to run all the different IT stuff. I need to kind of pivot and run that whole other set. So it gives a customized pen test. The other advantage is that we can add and change out tools and techniques very, very quickly. I can give an example of that. We are currently, it's public news, but we're currently doing a demonstration for the TSA, and we're doing some assessments again against some of TSA's OT environments, their scanners and their screening equipment and things like that they've never really been able to assess before. They've had some manual assessments done, but again, it's very time consuming. It takes expert level penetration testers to be able to do this. And so we went in, we did what we call a discovery test. So we tested their equipment with our experts, guys who've been doing OT penetration testing for many, many years. It took us maybe 3 or 4 days to get through the system, to understand it, to discover all the devices, to look for certain vulnerabilities, classes of vulnerabilities, different techniques that we would want to try. We then took that information, took it back to our lab, and within about 3 weeks, we built a fully customized set of reactions for that environment. So we were able to tailor the tool with specific reactions for the TSA's environment. That then now we have basically a custom variant that we've built for their environment, which allows them to take that custom build to any and all airports, to similar environments. They don't have to be exactly the same. Most of the reactions we built for them, and it turns out to be the case that most reactions are more generalized because of the way we break them down into atomic pieces. You can use them across multiple environments, even sometimes on, we've done tests on environments and systems that we've never seen before, and discovered new vulnerabilities that way. So being able to break it into those atomic pieces and use that kind of custom run every time, or that custom playbook, if you will, is much more valuable than running a generic scan, running the same thing over and over and over. Any other questions on that? Kind of how it works?
So, so as you go through this process, so you provide TSA with the tools that they need. What is your involvement as security vulnerabilities are identified, or new hacks are identified? Do you offer a maintenance contract? I mean, how does that process work?
Yes. So that's actually something brand new. The TSA customization is the first time that we've done that kind of customization. So it's actually, we're ironing that out right now in our contract with them. And yes, there is the concept of ongoing, if they find something new and want us to add a new type of technique, or they find a new vulnerability that they want to uh, understand if we could add it to Enlight, they will bring it to us. and we have that built into the contract so that we can do further customization. And then as we discover new things, we're constantly adding new reactions to the set of reactions that we have. So some of which will apply to their system, some may not. And then as a kind of a maintenance thing, we will send our red team in on a periodic basis, perhaps once a year or so, just to do some manual checkup to make sure, hey, we're not missing something here. There's not something completely different that our tool, perhaps a blind spot in the tool or something like that, that we need to be aware of. So we're ironing that out with that contract, but it's contract specific for them. On the commercial side, when we're selling just to generic, commercial companies, IT shops and things like that, we're constantly doing penetration testing as part of what we do as part of our services, and so we're adding new techniques, new vulnerabilities, new exploits on a constant basis based on the work that we're doing and based on research that's out there. Of course, we follow every blog and new vulnerability, new technique that's out there, constantly going to conferences and things to learn new techniques and to learn new ways to break things. And we bring that back and we have our guys, constantly adding to the set of reactions that we've built for kind of just our more general commercial side. And I haven't talked too much about it, but on that commercial side, just to kind of make everybody aware of how that works. So the idea is that you would visit our site. We don't have self-enrollment turned on just yet. We still enroll our customers for them. We are on the cusp of actually releasing self-enrollment where they can just sign up online themselves without any interaction. Kind of like the way Snyk does, if you're familiar with the company Snyk, SNYK. They do static analysis or code review, and they have a SaaS-based tool, very similar to what we're doing, except we're doing penetration testing instead of code review. And but for now, you would email us. We would create an account for you. It takes about 15 to 30 minutes to get set up. Once you're set up, you sign into our portal online, and there will be a download of a client for you to download. You can download the client as many times as you want. You can put it on as many computers on your network as you would like. That client, all it does for us is act as a proxy so that we can access the system. So just like with any penetration test, you've got to give the testers access to your system, whether they're on site or whether they're remote. Again, if you're doing this in a cloud-based instance, of course, it's going to be remote. So you download that proxy or that client, and once it's on the system, then it's hands off for you. We can start scans from our end. You can schedule scans to run. Again, I'm calling them scans, but it's a full-on assessment. And it will run pretty much in the background. You probably won't even notice anything is happening. You can also launch a scan on your own. So we have on-demand scans where you can click the button, hey, I want to run an internal assessment or an external assessment. So we also do assessments from the outside, like attack surface management type stuff, all kinds of vulnerability analysis and website, web application stuff from the outside in a perimeter. But there's two different assessments that run, external versus internal, and you can launch either one of those independently within the system. And then once the findings come back from that assessment, they will be populated into a UI, kind of like you see here on the screen, where you've got kind of a temperature gauge on how your current security posture is looking and what's affecting that posture. What issues should you be aware of, and then, of course, below that, you'll have all the detailed findings that you can sort through, that you can manage. You can have them retested and see if they've been fixed. You can send them off to a group to go handle the vulnerability, whether it's installing a patch or closing off a port, whatever it might be. So you can use the tool to kind of manage those vulnerabilities. And then manage further scans. Do I want to scan again next week? I can go ahead and schedule that, or next month, or 3 months from now, whatever it might be. So that's the dashboard. It also has a view. I don't have the demo up today because I didn't think we had enough time really to run the demo. But We do have a graph view of your network as well. It's a graph view of not only your network, but all the data that we've found, the different ports that are open, the different applications that we've found, different vulnerabilities that are related to those ports and to those systems and how they interrelate to each other. And often people ask, well, can you do a zero trust type test where can you see if we can get to this thing that you're not supposed to be able to get to? And we can present that data very easily on this graph form. You can see that from the system that we were on doing the scanning, where we were doing our foothold, we were able to get to all of these different things. And so you can check for any isolation or things like that may not be working, or that you thought was working, but there's still a way to get from here to there when there shouldn't be. So that graph view has been really valuable for a lot of our customers to be able to kind of visualize their environment and how the different pieces kind of interrelate. What does a vulnerability over here mean to the rest of the network? Kind of things like that. This is really just a view of the Catalyst Decision Engine. I've talked mostly about this. I won't really get too deep in this. I don't want you to get lost in the details of this, but we talked about the reactions that go in here. We have our initial seed, which is just the target. So you give us a domain, a web domain, or you give us some internal hosts on your network or some subnets or whatever that you want us to. It's basically scoping the assessment so that we only test the things you want us to test, really. And then from there, the basic elements get created. The assessment kicks off and kicks off some reactions, some initial reactions to do some discovery and initial initial scanning and initial footprinting and fingerprinting and things like that. As those things come back, we decide which tools to run. Those tools get run, and then the assessment continues until basically there's no more reactions to be run, and then comes back again with a set of findings. That's all that there is there. So really, that's kind of what I wanted to get through today. I know we're at 12:30 here, so I wanted to leave time for anyone to kind of ask questions or take it in any direction that you would kind of want to go in here. There's lots we can talk about, but I just wanted to give you a high level of what we're doing and what we've built. Like I said, we built this for standalone environments where there's no cloud connectivity, there's no connectivity of any kind. So we put the whole thing on a laptop, and an assessor can take that laptop into any environment and run a custom scan that we've developed specifically for that environment. Or you can again just download it from our cloud environment and have everything run from there and analyze your findings that way. Yeah, that's kind of what I had for you guys today, just to give you an idea of what we've got going on here.
All right, so deployable assets, so computers and networks that are deployable, that either may come back and plug into a network, like people that travel with their laptops, that kind of thing. You handle all of that as well. I mean, that's what you're.
As long as
Does
they're
it work for
visible,
that?
that's why you can download the client and you can run it in different subnets or different VLANs or different enclaves. Because based on the visibility of the foothold, right? So that client that you download is basically our foothold. That's the bad guy at that point, and it's basically what he can see from there, right? We're gonna try to exploit things that give us more visibility. So there might be some things you don't want us to see, but we're gonna exploit some element of the system that then allows us to pivot and access another previously untouchable part of the environment. But yeah, as things come and go, that's one of the values of being able to scan on a regular basis, is that things are constantly coming and going, right? And so we can look for things on a regular basis. That's one thing that a yearly pen test is not going to tell you, right? Because people are going to be connecting and disconnecting quite often, and you can only see what you can see at that one point in time. At some point, we're really pushing towards doing continuous assessment where we never stop. Like there's no stopping point. We just kind of start over and do it again, and are constantly looking for new things, new systems, things that open up on the fly. And we're pretty close to getting to that point where you could just run us continuously with nonstop.
Right now, what about work on classified networks? Would you be able to provide this for that? You talk about that you sign up the clients and then you put the you put something on their
Yeah.
devices and
Yeah,
then
that's
you
the
can
commercial
initiate
deployment.
scans.
That's the commercial deployment. But for instance, with TSA, we weren't able to do that. So the environments that we're scanning are not they're not classified, but they're not connected either. They're air gapped, like a classified network would be, right? So yes, we can run in air gapped environments. We can run in classified environments. We could run in a classified cloud as well. So we can deploy to a classified cloud, a government cloud. We're in the process of doing FedRAMP certification right now. We're really just waiting on sponsorship. We're FedRAMP ready. Basically, there's nothing precluding us from getting FedRAMP. We really just have the whole sponsorship process to kind of go through, having a customer and having them sponsor us and get through that. But there's no technical challenges for us to be able to be GovCloud kind of certified to run in that manner. So we can do local cloud as well. If you do, even if it's not GovCloud, but it's some sort of local cloud that you've deployed, we can run there as well. So we made it pretty easy to deploy the whole thing to any any uh, any deployment environment that really we've encountered.
All right, so there you go, Chris Hakimian. You can take that to your friends at OUSD, and hopefully there's somebody there that would be interested. Maybe Kim Sablon would have an interest in this.
Uh, yeah, maybe so. Thanks. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, I can hear you great.
Thank you.
So now the other question that I have is, so the ideal situation I can see here for federal and defense industry is to try and put this on a GSA schedule where they can purchase it through a GSA schedule, and not maybe a credit card or through purchase orders or things like that. Are you
Sure.
standardized enough that you could do that?
Yeah. We've actually we were on the GSA schedule with with one of our partners. We're not currently on their GSA schedule anymore. I don't think. It's been a while, but
Well, they've
yeah,
well, they've restructured GSA now. I mean, it's
yeah,
not like it used to be where there were multiple GSA contracts and you had to find somebody. It's basically one contract now,
yeah.
and you have to go through GSA to get put on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's nothing that we've been like I said, we had a partner that we were on the GSA schedule as one of their kind of services through them. So basically using them as a proxy, if you will, as a partner. But we're not on there at this point. We're not on our own. But there's nothing precluding us from kind of getting to that point. It's really just, kind of as sometimes it does become a little bit of a chicken and an egg where they say, well, you got to have a contract to be able to get on the schedule. And we've encountered that with several different, even state schedules, not GSA, but the states all have their own, like Texas, they have the DIB. I think that's what it's called. Um, no, DIR, Texas DIR. But yeah, basically getting on those catalogs to be able to order. But yeah, there's nothing precluding us from doing that. We just, like I said, we were working with a partner originally to get that done.
Yeah, as long as you have standardized solutions, it's
Yeah,
a good fit. It's when you get into the customizable ones, or
right. Yeah, and that's what we did with our standard commercials. Our commercial solution is standardized. Like other things that we do with customers like TSA or with DoD, or where we're doing some stuff with the Air Force and Space Force right now. Those would be just custom contracts there. But as far as the baseline commercial product, yeah, it's something that you could just it's standardized enough to where you could just order it as a single product. But the other interesting use case that we've talked a lot to defense industry and well, really a lot of different sectors is supply chain cybersecurity gap. Supply chain cyber obviously is a hot button topic and is very hard to do. So you've got your GRCs and those kinds of supply chain management types of solutions that are trying to maintain and trying to figure out, okay, how do I assess the security of different vendors and different different environments and different products. And one of the biggest problems is, well, okay, I can get them to answer a questionnaire, but is that the real truth? I can do a little bit of open source gathering or some sort of scanning, but is it really telling me what I need to know? And we've had some really good success with being able to run this very quickly and easily for um, our larger integrators who are looking to validate the security of their suppliers. And it's pretty non-invasive. They download this thing, they run this scan, and they get findings back within a matter of hours. And we can run it, continuously or periodically, maybe twice a year or something like that. Because again, you do one assessment on a vendor, and what's to say that they're not going to introduce some big vulnerability within the next month or 2 or 6 months, or however often you go about assessing them. So supply chain assessment has been a really interesting and kind of valuable use case for some of our clients.
Yeah, I could definitely get you in front of DLA R&D with this. What about DISA or NSA? Have you had any conversations with them?
We have with DISA for sure, because we're doing some work with DHS and TSA, so that intertwines with DISA quite a bit. Um, and we're continuing those conversations. I'll call him a Sherpa. I've got a business partner who knows DISA very, very well, came from that world, and has gotten us some pretty good traction going forward with DISA, as maybe offering this as a kind of a automated penetration testing type of tool uh, through DISA to their client base, which is pretty much everyone, but offering it as one of the services that DISA could potentially provide in the future, being able to do end-to-end cybersecurity assessment in a kind of turnkey automated fashion without having to hire thousands and thousands of testers. Because I've heard that DISA's list right now to get on their penetration testing list is something like 3 years long. And that's only if you're, one of the few that's actually that they will run an assessment for.
Yeah, that sounds outrageous.
Yeah, I hear it all the time, especially working with airports. DISA does a lot of testing for airports, and they're like, yeah, we can't get on their schedule for about 3 years.
And I think this is I think we really need to keep up to date on this and where you're able to get it within the federal government. I think it would interest a lot of people to be able to have access to it. So if you could keep me updated, or actually, once this is posted on the YouTube channel, if you could go in and, if you get anywhere with DISA or, you know, NSA or anybody like that, if you could just post notes in there that said, hey, we just did this, or, we're this much closer to having this on a GSA schedule or making this available through DISA, that would be great. So people can track it.
Sounds good. Any other questions?
Okay, anyone in the audience? Tiffany.
Oh.
Tiffany Davis. She signed in as DISA.
Yeah. Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, Tiffany.
Hello.
Yes, I can.
Yeah. So I don't work for cybersecurity. I work in the Joint Spectrum Center. So yeah, I'm not even at headquarters. I'm in Annapolis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry about that. I just
Oh, no
noticed
problem.
DISA after your name.
Yeah. So when I signed in and asked for an answer, let me make sure they at least know I'm from DISA. And this happened. Aaron presented and he was just talking about DISA. But yeah, I don't do none of the testing, and I have heard the same thing about their cybersecurity for penetration testing, that it takes a while to actually get access to them. But yeah, I don't do that.
All right. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for
you're welcome.
For responding to my my ping here.
Oh, no worries. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? All right. I'm not hearing anything, so I'm going to rely on Chris Hakimian. Chris Hakimian is at OUSD RNE. So he keeps an eye out for us within that whole group to identify applications, open proposals or RFPs and things like that. So I'm hoping that Chris might be able to put something together for us there. But yeah, I think if you need a sponsor, that would be a great place to get a sponsor from. Now, what about OPM, the Office of Personnel Management? Would this have applications there?
I am not sure actually. I'm not sure what their scope is as far as,
Yeah.
I mean, anyone with a network could actually, could obviously use this to assess their network. So if they get penetration testing done or whoever does testing for them on their network, which, who knows who that might be with all the different government groups that are out there that do cybersecurity assessment. But I mean, yeah, so anybody who needs an assessment done could obviously call us and we can do it for them. I didn't even mention like on the commercial side on pricing, one of the really interesting pieces is that for about the cost of a single penetration test with a one of the reputable, I'll say one of the reputable firms or one of the reputable groups, that one yearly pen test is about the same price as what you would pay for our ongoing continuous. So you can have it done as many times as you would like throughout the year for about the same cost. So,
All right. Well, thank you for that.
yep. And it can be used to meet any kind of certification requirements that you would need. So if you have to have a penetration test done as far as some sort of regulation, CMMC or FedRAMP or whatever it might be, the tests that we run are valid, at least for any of the ones that we've encountered. So just so that people kind of understand that.
Yeah, I don't know how this relates to the new requirements for people that are actually doing business with the federal government and their new cybersecurity requirements. I don't know if there's a requirement for pen testing, but yeah, I could definitely look into that and see if it is or if that's someplace that they're planning on taking this or taking that, because I do know that they've increased their cybersecurity requirements and certifications for the different companies that do work for federal government. I was talking to NSA here at Soft Week yesterday about that, and and they offer a free service through NSA to help small businesses assess their cybersecurity level for doing business with the federal government. But there again, they're getting really backlogged as well.
Yep.
All right, so I'll open up one last time for questions. Anybody before we go? All right, I'm not hearing anything. If you're talking, you're on mute. All right, so like I said, I'm here at Soft Week. The plan for this week for people that came in late was I had hoped to identify people here at Soft Week to present on today's forum. I was able to do that, but then they got sidetracked talking with people with interest in their products, and they didn't have enough people here to support presentations. So we only have one presentation this week. I apologize for that. We're going to be back in 2 weeks, and the plan is in June to go back to weekly forums. So thank you everybody for being here. Thank you, Aaron, for your presentation, and we look forward to the next one, which I
All
think will
right.
be interesting as well.
I appreciate the time. Thank you, everybody.